me some quiet time to just water the garden a bit and sort of think about all the work we've put into things and take a minute to gather my thoughts before I talk about the topic of this video today. Ask you guys to forgive the fact that we haven't put out a video in several weeks. It's just been, I knew what I was going to talk about. I just been putting it off, I guess, because it's bothered me a bit. But it's a lesson learned. I mean, there's good can come from it. But it's just been kind of hard. And then, of course, busyness sets in, and then I'll have every excuse not to get on camera and talk about something that's difficult. But if you are starting a homestead like we are, or thinking about starting a homestead like we have, then this is something that needs to be thought about and talked about. So let our experience be a blessing to y'all, because that would make it worth it. If someone can learn from us in that way and a mistake that we've made, then I will call it good. So, let me tell you what we experienced a few weeks ago. Jeff and I were asleep, and it was early morning hours, and the dog was barking, but that's not uncommon for her. And this is the time of year we have our bedroom window open, so we were able to hear her barking, but we can tend to sleep through that because we're used to it, unless she's really aggressively barking, which in this case she did begin to do that and woke Jeff up. And then, but what woke me up was a strange chirp from the chicks. It was like more like a long chirp, like almost like a cry. And I was like, something is wrong. And so Jeff and I both jumped up, and it was probably about 4 o'clock in the morning. And we come outside, went down. Well, Jeff got down there first, and he said, I was on the porch, and he said something has got him, and that my heart sank. My heart just absolutely sank. And I didn't know how bad it was, how many we had left, what was going on. I just put on my boots and headed down there with a flashlight. And we got down there. And as I got down there, I could see this big, dark bird. And I could hear it too. So we're talking about a big bird fly from one branch to another. And I could just see the dark movement and hear it. And Jeff said it was an owl. And given the extent of the injuries and the way the little coop is set up, and that nothing else was disturbed. The fence had not come down. Nothing had been disturbed. We never heard anything get shocked. So it had to have been something from above that came down right inside the netting. And anyway, and given, like I said, given the extent of the injuries of the birds, a little like talons. One had been punctured. One had been sort of ripped across the chest, and two were dead when we got there. The other two that were injured pretty bad. We wasn't sure. It was dark. We couldn't really tell a whole lot about. We knew they were bloody. We couldn't tell a whole lot about the injuries at the time. So what we did was we moved um, all those birds. Those are the Cornish cross hens we had in the small coop down there. We moved them over into the big coop with the big birds. Our other chicks that we'd gotten, the laying hens, the new buffs and the little mystery chick, were in a separate coop, and it's completely surrounded by wire and had a tarp over it and everything to keep them warm because they're smaller. So they were in a separate area and they were fine. But all the Cornish cross chicks were in this other little small coop overnight. So what we ended up doing was move them into the big coop. It's more secure than the smaller one. And honestly, well, anyway, as far as the security part, we'll talk about in a minute. And that's really what bothers me the most. I mean, we've had animals before. We've lost animals before. Losing animals is part of homesteading. It's just a fact. In fact, out of the 20 Cornish cross that we got, we'd already lost two. One had I opened the box when the chicks were this big, and one was already dead in there. And then one died just a couple weeks later while they were in the brooder box in the house. So I mean that just happens. And so those, I'm always sad about that, but those didn't bother me as much as this because honestly, I take a lot of responsibility for this. But anyway, we moved the Cornish cross chicks into the big coop with the big hens and come back up to the house and decided that when the sun come up, we'd reassess the situation. So a couple hours later, in some daylight, we came back down to check on all of them, and we found the two that we knew were injured, and trying to see if it was life threatening. So was there something that could heal or whatever? And one was punctured pretty deeply. I could see internal organs, and the other one was just the skin had been just stripped bare across her chest. Her breast meat was exposed. It was just sad. So we had to make the decision to go ahead and cull those two birds. And about that, culling chicks, we've processed chicks before, more than once. So yes, we've killed chicks before, but Jeff and I usually, we're not on that job. Our oldest son does that. He's our hunter. He's the one that he's just comfortable with it. He knows how to do it and do it quickly. There's no suffering involved, and he's just got the stomach for it. Jeff and I do too, but it's just everyone has a job on processing day. It's a family thing. Everyone has a job, and that's just where he fits best. So we've just let him do it. Jeff and I do other things. Bryson does something else. So we all have a job. So we just let him do it. We've never had to. He's done it well. He's good at it, and he's comfortable there. So we've just given him that job, while the rest of us do our jobs, and it's a whole like assembly line process, and all the chickens get processed quickly, bagged, and put in the freezer. So this is our first time actually having to intentionally hold our chicken and take its life to end the suffering. So we knew how to do it. We watched a quick video just to make sure that we could do it because we were not going to cut a throat. It wasn't processing day. So we didn't want a bloody mess or anything like that. We were not going to drain it, nothing like that. So we wanted a cleaner, quick way to do it. And so with the two that were hurt, we learned how to do it really fast and went down there. And as I know some of you might be thinking this is horrible, but what you need to understand is these girls have been taken care of very well. They've been handled by us. They have been handled gently. So the last thing these two girls knew were being held gently and pretty much cradled by the hands that have gently handled them frequently and have fed them. That's all they knew. They were calm. They wasn't even crying out or anything. They were just calm, and they were up against our body, held in our hand, and the process was quick. All we had to do was, stretch out the neck, do a quick wrist turn, and it was over. And all they thought were they were being pet and comforted, and then they were asleep. They were gone. So it was quick. It was easy. It was a homestead skill learned. So, I mean, we'll add that to our new abilities, but I just hope to not have to use it very often. The reason why I'm so tender-hearted about this, though, is when we take animals, even if we're going to eat them, even if their purpose is to sustain our family, we give them the best life we can while they're here. And it's also our job to protect them while they're here. And a chicken is a defenseless bird. I mean, it's defenseless. It relies on us. If they're here, we have to keep them safe. And things do happen. There's things we cannot avoid. We do our best with the electric netting. We do our best keeping watch, keeping windows open, checking on them frequently when we're home. But I mean, we've lost animals to foxes. We've lost animals to other things. It happens. But in this case, they were in that coop, which is the same small coop that we kept our last batch of Cornish cross chicks in. But what I forgot was, at that time, that small coop had tin around the edges to where nothing could reach through. It's also inside the electric netting, but as far as another large bird coming down or anything that can get through the netting to get to the coop, it had tin around it last year. So we'd had to take that off for some reason. We had to use it for something. And I'd just forgotten about it. In my mind, the coop was as it was before. We didn't have trouble before, and I guess we got too comfortable. During this whole process, I realized we have taken away some of their security by not replacing the tin or putting some more wire with smaller holes around it. Because the gaps, and I'll show you in a video, but the gaps on this particular small coop are pretty wide. I mean, talons can get through there, a claw could get through there, and we honestly just forgot that it had that last year, which is why we didn't lose a bird last year. And so out of the 20 that we've got 14 left. We've lost 6, two being the ones that died very young, and now these 4, the 2 that the owl, well, 4 that the owl really killed. But so yeah, I'm a little tender about it because I feel like we could have been prevented, and we have learned from it. So that's the main thing. This is something that we dealt with, we handled it, but we learned from it. There is tin and wire around it, around 3/4 of it now. The one side of it's open, but that their water bowl is there, the food bowl is there, so they're not going to sleep right there. Throughout the day, they might come up and get food and water from there, but for the most part, they stay towards the back. That's where they huddle up and sleep, in the back. And the back wall and half of the sides are secured with tin or wire. So we have not had any trouble since. And thankfully, since the owl did not get food that day, it tried very hard, but since it didn't actually get food that day, it may not associate this area with a place to get food. I'm hoping it has moved on, haven't seen it or heard it. We still have hawks, but I mean, you can't really safeguard against every single thing, but I feel like we could have done better for our girls in this case. So I take full responsibility for it. I'm a little tender about it, but like I said, it's another skill learned. If I ever had to cull a chicken, I know how, and I know I can. I'd never had to do it. I was a little nervous about it, but when I picked her up and I saw how bad she was hurt, I knew that it had to be done, because I'm not going to let her just lay there and die slowly. And it was just a quick, swift motion. We got it done, and I know I can now. If I have to, I know I can. So I will take the lessons from it and make this good. I will take the skill set, the ability, add that to the list of things I'm learning as we go about this journey, and count our losses and do better next time. So I hope that you hear my heart in this video. I hope you don't think that I'm just cruel to animals, and there's no neglect going on here. It's just absent-mindedness that we're learning from. And I thank you for being here for it. Thank you to all the new subscribers. I've been watching some numbers go up, and I really appreciate you being here. I'm sorry again for the length of time between this video and the last one, only because there's just been a lot going on and a lot I had to think about. Didn't really feel like putting the camera on this situation right away, but I mean, if you can learn from what we've done, then, you know, there again, another reason to call it good. But I thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being here, and good luck to you if you're raising chickens or anything else. I pray that yours are thriving, and I pray that they're safe and benefit your family. That we're all in this, you know, together, learning from each other, and I thank you for being here for it. So, thanks for hanging out with me, and we'll see you next time.